Hi everybody, welcome to my podcast. It's been a while. I wanted to talk about people pleasing or just pleasing others. The difference between doing something from love and pleasing, people pleasing. Also, how people pleasing affects our relationships, no matter if it's a romantic relationship, friendship, or even work relationships. And also how people pleasing affects our own energy, your own energy level, your own emotional well-being. So let's start with what is the difference between doing something because you authentically do it from a place of love and appreciation for the other person, and you want to give the other person your time, your energy, or maybe a gift. You buy something and you can give a gift to someone, and so you can do that from love. Let's just call it love, or you can call it kindness if you like. And then there is people pleasing. So what is the difference? I believe, and the way I understand it and I have experienced it about myself and my own life, is when I do people pleasing, and I have done that a lot in the past. I would say especially a couple years ago, I did this a lot more because I want other people to feel nice, to feel happy. So the first impression, the first thing that you recognize about people pleasing is that it's actually no problem, right? Because it comes from a place, a good intention, that you want somebody else to feel good, you want somebody else to feel happy. So let's look at that. First of all, let's say let's find an example that is relatable for other people and maybe something that's realistic. So I prepare dinner and I invite you to my house for dinner or for lunch or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. And I do that because I just want to invite you for dinner, because I enjoy that. Or I want you to feel happy because I know that you had a really difficult week, but I'm actually really tired. So in this real life example, I was really tired and exhausted. I had a difficult conversation with a completely different person. That those people have nothing to do with each other, but I was just really tired on that day. But I had promised before that I would prepare dinner. So I said, I don't want to feel the person who I invited for dinner, I don't want them to feel upset or sad or whatever it is, just because I promised this and I cannot keep my promise. And usually I'm not even promising that much. I usually tend to, tell people, I have this intention, maybe we can do this. I would really like to do this for you. But I'm usually also very open about my boundaries, and I say, I have a lot of work and I'm talking to this other person because I have an issue that I have to resolve with this other person. So let's just talk in the evening and see if we can do the dinner, or if you're tired, because you could also be tired, you can also cancel the dinner. Or if I'm tired, I'm going to cancel the dinner. So usually this is my healthy way of stating my boundaries. And that way I am not people pleasing, because I respect my own boundaries, and I don't do something just because I want somebody else to feel happy if it is beyond my boundaries, because I'm tired or I have a different priority, maybe something comes up and I just have to take care of it. This week I had to take care of a lot of cleaning because my cats had fleas and I had to clean the whole house to get rid of those fleas. So that's a priority that just came up. That's an example. So, life just happens, and we have to set our own boundaries and be very honest, so we can be honest to other people about the energy that we can give to them. And then we trust that those people understand that it's not about them. It's really just about our own boundaries. And so back to the story about the dinner. When I prepared the dinner, I promised that this dinner would happen, and I talked to this person. And on this day, because I was really tired and really quite stressed, honestly, I was not able to reflect and feel. I wasn't able to feel that I'm actually so tired that what I actually prefer is to just be alone, eat something without cooking, a nice meal. When I cook for someone else, I just put more effort in it than when I cook for myself. When I'm tired, when I'm tired, I just do something really quick. But when I'm cooking for somebody else, I'm usually not going to do something quick. I'm going to do something nice. So I didn't really feel that. I didn't have that self-awareness in that moment because I was tired and stressed. And I had also the desire that this other person feels happy because I'm inviting them and to cook dinner for them, and I will do it. Which is, again, like I said before, if it's not in line with my boundaries in that specific moment, that's people pleasing. So either way, I wasn't really aware about my realistic boundary on that evening, and I did the dinner. I prepared the dinner. I invited the person, and that was people pleasing because it was outside of my boundary. And what happens often in those cases, maybe if you do it once or twice, it's actually no big deal. Maybe you just feel afterwards that you're even more tired, When you feel drained after a certain activity, then you know that this was not what you probably needed. So in my case, that was the case. I felt more tired, more drained, and even less happy, if I'm very honest with myself. And it has nothing to do with the other person, but I felt less happy because I did something, although I don't have the energy for that. And I realized, okay, that was the wrong decision. So, I keep on learning. And every situation in life is always different. We never encounter the exact same situation twice in our lives. There will always be a small difference. So that is helpful, but that's also challenging. Because you can never say I did this 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times. And so this is how I will always do it. Because that's not how life works. Because every time it's going to be a little bit different. You had a different day. Maybe it's a different person. Maybe the circumstances are different. Maybe your work schedule is different. If you're a woman, you have a cycle, a feminine cycle. So every day is different. Every week is different. It's a whole different level of realizing that life is just changing every day, because as a woman you're literally changing every day throughout your cycle. That is something to consider, because with the decision that you take one week is probably maybe not the decision that you will need for the following week or the week after, because you will probably just feel different and you just honor your boundaries. So what do we do in those cases? When we have that situation that we want to do something nice for a person, can we identify, first of all, if it's people-pleasing or if it's really something loving, something caring that we want to do? The way to identify that is to realize if you want the other person to feel happy, even though you are hurting your own boundaries. So I'm going to repeat this because I think it's very important. If you're people-pleasing, the way you know that it's people-pleasing is that you are hurting your own boundary, even if it's not a dramatic, big boundary, but it's still a boundary that you want to rest and you want to have a certain experience of a relaxed evening where you're not cooking, like in my case, but you are ignoring this boundary because you want the other person to feel happy. That is people pleasing. What does this do? On a long run, when you neglect your own boundaries, you neglect yourself, you feel more drained, you have less energy, and then you know what's interesting, what happens? That the other person, if you're in a romantic relationship, what is likely to happen if both people do the people pleasing? That the other person also wants you to be happy. So now we have two people ignoring their own boundaries while they're trying to make each other happy. And in the process, they're draining their own energies, because what I need is not the same that you need. And that's perfectly fine. And there's actually no problem about that. But there will be a problem if I ignore my own boundaries and my needs to make you happy. And in return, you do the same, because we think now that you did this for me, I have to do the same for you. And you know what happens? We're in a codependent relationship where one person is getting less happy and less happy and less happy, and the other person is also getting less happy because they're doing the same for the other person. They're doing it for each other, because we learned that relationships are about I make you happy, so you make me happy. So if I make you happy, you have to make me happy because I did this for you. So now you have to do this for me. This is just an example. Of course, it's not always like that. It can also be that, every day you communicate your boundaries and you say, I don't have time today because I have to do this by myself to take care of myself. I have to just maybe spend an evening alone. In my case, I'm an introvert. So when I state a boundary, it usually means that I want to be alone because I recharge my energy by being alone. If you're an extrovert, maybe your boundary is going to be different. Maybe it will be something like, hey, I don't want to watch a movie tonight with you because I want to go out for a workout to the gym, or I want to go out for the whole weekend hiking in nature and spending time in nature with my best friend, or I want to go to the beach with another friend because I really need to spend time with this friend because I really enjoy being at the beach with this friend. It has nothing to do with you. It is just something that I do to make myself happy. It's a healthy boundary. And then, of course, in that case, the chances are higher if both partners, and I'm relating this to romantic relationships, by the way, because I believe that boundaries and people-pleasing happen a lot more in romantic relationships, and it's also where they hurt relationships and they could sabotage the relationship. You could have a healthy relationship when you honor and respect your boundaries, and you're also very honest and you speak your truth and just express your boundary. And then I think what's necessary for that to work is that you have a partner who understands that and who is not taking it against them, but who just recognizes, oh, this person is taking care of themselves, so now let me do something else, or let me take care of myself now, instead of being like, oh no, they don't like me, they don't want to be with me, I'm not good enough, I'm not funny enough, I'm not interesting enough. All these negative thoughts, they can come up when another person sets a boundary and sets a limit. So we start questioning and doubting why this person doesn't want to be with me. And I think that's a huge issue in relationships. And this is also the reason why we are afraid to set boundaries, because we are afraid that the other person cannot handle it, or the other person will misunderstand it. And it's an important risk to take, because if you don't take that risk to define your boundaries, then what you will end up doing, that you're draining your own energy, and you're going to lose more and more energy until you are so tired or so exhausted, or maybe you get anxious or aggressive, whatever it is, when you're frustrated, that it will affect the relationship, and then you really have a problem. So before it gets to that problem, learn to identify when are you actually people pleasing? When are you trying to please another person? Just catch yourself doing that. If you catch yourself that once you've already done it, like in my case, I noticed it like a couple days after, I'm like, yeah, that's not really what I needed. But I did it anyway because I wanted to be nice. So now I learned from it, and you always learn from your mistakes. That's just how life is. There is no way to live a life without ever making a mistake. Mistakes are part of life. And you learn from that. And so in my case, in the future, I will pay more attention about how I really feel, and take a moment to sit down and, put the phone away, put all the text messages away, and take a moment to really feel my body, feel my breath, my nervous system, feel my feelings, and also notice what my thoughts are. What am I thinking? What am I creating in my mind? What am I doing in my head? Sometimes we also create a story, or sometimes we even create a drama in our minds. Like, if I don't do this right now, there will be a drama, and that's actually a thought in your head. So I take a moment to realize if I am actually afraid that I'm doing something wrong, and because of that I start to people please because I want everybody else to be happy, so there is no drama. It's a way to avoid drama also. So I take that moment to become aware of all the stuff that is going on in my mind, in my heart, in my body. And self-awareness is really important, because if you don't know yourself and what you need, you cannot really give in a relationship what you have to give. You have to know what you are able to give. And then you can give it with an open heart. And the same is true for the other person. You can ask the other person, what is your energy like today? Or do you have the energy to do this? Do you want to do this? You can help the other person. You can help your partner also by asking these questions. And then maybe you will develop a habit or a strategy of having that dialogue and having that open communication about what do you really need, and allowing these needs to be very honest, and also allowing those needs to be fulfilled, not by the other person but by yourself. I think that's like a superpower in a relationship, because preferably you are in a relationship not because you need the other person because you're unhappy. That's not why I want to be in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship because it's great to spend time with that other person, but I don't need them to make me happy, because I know myself, and when I am stressed and tired, I also know what I can do to support myself to feel a little bit better. So I hope this was useful. Take care of yourself. Don't be afraid to speak your truth and express your boundaries, and embrace your mistakes.